Let's get straight to the point. I got the Fujifilm X-Pro2 because of the sensor image quality. Compared to my X-E2, the 24 megapixel sensor is noticeably sharper. Same as the X-E2, the color coming out of the X-Pro2 is just so nice that you really don't need to tweak them unless if it is a creative choice. Having a sharper and higher megapixel sensor allows me to do things like cropping, up to I would say about 30% as my personal preference. Since Fujifilm cameras are known to not have any anti-aliasing filter, it provides much sharper images compared to other 24 megapixels cameras with the AA filter. To me, I'm only going to use my Fujifilm cameras for photography, so the sharper photos are always welcome. Without the AA filter, you might not want to take too much videos with it because you will see things moving weirdly around the spots with patterns. The X-Pro2 can record video, but I really wouldn't suggest getting it even if you are planning to do more than 20% of videos with the camera. You might be better off getting a professional video app on your phone to get better video quality. I have been using the Moment app to record videos on my iPhone and I'm very happy with the result. However, when it comes to photo image quality, I have never been happier with other cameras than taking pictures with my Fujifilm cameras. The main reason is because of the softer film look that the images have. Yes, I know it is very confusing because I just mentioned that the images are very sharp and now I'm saying I like it because it has a soft film look. When I take pictures with my Sony a7 III or Canon EOS R, the images are extremely sharp as well, but they are what I would call clinically sharp. They look very professional if you're doing a paid portrait photo shoot, but to me, they are a lack of those artistic film look that I can easily get from the Fujifilm X-Pro2. Yes, you can definitely get the film look on the Sony and Canon images by editing the photo in post, but I get it straight out of my X-Pro2 without having to spend the time to edit the photos, and that is a big plus to me. Being able to show and share the photos straight out of camera with my friends brought us so much joy that you will have to try in order to really feel it. It makes everyone happy and excited and wanting to take more photos with the amazing camera. And to me, that is something I didn't get from other cameras. Of course, if you're doing photography for a living, you will most likely want to edit the photos and adjust anything in post instead of giving the straight out of camera JPEGs to your clients. That is completely understandable and I would highly recommend it. But if you're a hobbyist photographer who just want to enjoy taking photos, most people, including my friends, are way more than happy with the straight out of camera JPEGs coming out of the X-Pro2 because of all the settings and film simulations you can adjust on the camera. If you're doing a photo shoot with your friends and family for fun, trust me, they don't really need the images to be extremely sharp, have the best dynamic range where you can see the darkest part of the image while the clouds are still showing. They just want to see a decent, nice picture of themselves that they can share on social media most likely. And I think that is why I didn't get the latest and greatest cameras for that. The Fujifilm X-Pro2 has been out for more than 4 years now, but the image quality is definitely more than enough because let's face it, most people look at photos on their phones or tablets nowadays. Maybe the biggest size will be a TV. Trust me, you will be blown away even by the image quality coming out of my X-E2. At least I was blown away. You might be wondering if I'm so happy with my X-E2, why did I buy a X-Pro2? First personal reason, I want to try the higher megapixels because I want something just a little bit sharper than my X-E2 in case if I need to crop the image after. And you know what? The X-Pro2 definitely did not disappoint. Second reason is because I got my X-E2 second-handed and I have no idea what the shutter count is. I know it will take a very long time for a camera shutter to stop working, but I just want to get another camera that can give me the same, if not better, image quality as a backup. I know it sounds stupid, but hey, I'm just telling the truth. The third reason is because I have tried the X-E4 and I was not too excited for the minimalistic design with almost no buttons and dials for adjustments. If you are happy with the X-E4 with the super minimal design, I'm very happy for you, but it is just not for me. Having even more buttons and dials on the X-Pro2 compared to my X-E2 is definitely an exciting news. Being able to quickly move my focus point with the joystick instead of having to assign a specific button on my X-E2 to initiate moving the focus point is absolutely amazing. It's much faster and easier because sometimes I have to put the X-E2 down just to make sure that I'm pressing the right button and it is moving the focus point. Having two dials, both front and the back, to me it's almost a must on the camera. My X-E2 has one back dial, which is still acceptable. The X-Pro2 has the front and back dial, so now I can adjust my shutter speed with the back dial and exposure compensation with the front dial, and it is amazing. I know most people would want to use the top dial to change your shutter speed, ISO, and exposure compensation on a Fujifilm camera, and that's why some people get a Fujifilm camera. But using the front and back dial is just faster for me, so if you're against it, I'm sorry. Talking about dials, the biggest reason why I didn't keep the X-E4 is because it has only one dial, and it is at the front. It is just so hard to use it. Trust me, even with my tiny hands, it is not that enjoyable. I tried to convince myself to work with it, but I just couldn't. Hopefully it works for you. The X-Pro2 also comes with a D-pad, and I think this is the last generation of Fujifilm cameras with the most controls. The dials, the joystick, and the D-pad all in one camera instead of having to choose. Or you can go with the XT series, which also has everything, but I really like the rangefinder style of the X-Pro2. The last personal reason is because I like the look of the X-Pro2. I know it sounds weird, but as I said in my other videos, if a camera looks good, it makes me want to take it out and take more photos. So at least I think it is a valid reason to get the camera. I'm not that good at photography, so if a camera can motivate me to practice more, that's not bad, right? Let's get back to the image quality part for a sec. Besides the higher megapixels X-Trans3 sensor, the X-Pro2 also has a newer processor that provides me with more film simulations like the very popular black and white Acros simulation. Yes, you can get the same look with editing, but again, it is already built in the camera, so why not? Being able to turn on the Acros simulation in camera really helps when you are taking black and white photos. It helps composing the shot with the exact lighting and angle you want. It is definitely not as easy if you're trying to take a black and white photo when you are looking at a colored image on the camera. On the X-Pro2, compared to my X-E2, it has more flexibility when it comes to image adjustments. It has more levels of sharpness, color, highlight tone, shadow tone, and more when you are trying to tune in the image to exactly the way you want, and that is awesome. I made another video talking about how to use the RAW conversion feature on Fujifilm cameras. You should definitely check it out because I think it is one of the most underrated Fujifilm camera features that people don't really talk about. It basically allows you to edit the RAW photos in camera without having to use Photoshop or Lightroom. Of course, those are very basic adjustments, but again, Fujifilm image quality is so good that most of the time I just edit the photos directly in the camera and they are more than good enough for me to share with my friends or social media. Here's a picture I edited with both Lightroom Mobile and the RAW conversion feature in the X-Pro2 side by side. I think they look pretty similar. So if you're happy with the built-in editing on a Fujifilm camera, you are saving a lot of money without paying for apps like Lightroom. The dynamic range and low light capability is also noticeably better on the X-Pro2 compared to the X-E2. By the way, I never had any complaints on the X-E2's low light capability, so you don't really have to worry about that. As I said in my previous video, the Fujifilm's noise is more like film grain instead of actual high ISO noise that you have on some other cameras. With the X-Pro2, I think the high ISO noise or film grain is even smaller and finer, so that works amazingly. A lot of times I think having that high ISO film grain makes the picture even more film look or artistic. Again, compared to the super sharp and clean images from newer cameras. On the X-E2, I always try to take pictures between ISO 200 and ISO 3200, but I'm pretty comfortable pushing it to ISO 6400. With the X-Pro2, I can confidently let the ISO go up to 6400, and I really don't think the pictures look bad because Fujifilm cameras don't really produce those annoying color noise. That means you can let the noise reduction in both the camera and post to go as low as you can. To be honest, I have never used any noise reduction on any of my Fujifilm cameras, and the pictures still look really good. Maybe that's just me, but when I was comparing my X-E2 to the X-E4, I didn't seem to get that much of a sharper image on the X-E4. But when I compare my X-E2 to the X-Pro2, the sharpness is much more noticeable. I had all in-camera noise reduction set to the lowest level, so I really don't know why. Maybe someone can let me know in the comment section below. Another reason why I decided to get the X-Pro2 instead of the X-E4 is because of the build quality. Yes, I shouldn't be comparing the new X-E4 to the X-Pro2 because the X-Pro line should have much higher build quality compared to the entry-level X-E line. But my X-E2 is still much better built than the X-E4 when I compare them side by side. I'm not too sure if it's because the X-E4 is lighter and smaller, but at least it did not feel as well built in my hands. If I have to rank them, X-Pro2 definitely has the best build quality, then the X-E2 and X-E4 will be the last to me. Older cameras does feel a lot more durable and premium. The X-Pro2 is also weather sealed, which doesn't really do much for me because I don't really use my cameras in the rain. At least I will always bring an umbrella instead of letting my camera get soaked in the rain. But it is good to feel safe with the weather sealing. The EVF and OVF on the X-Pro line is a big reason for a lot of people to get the camera. To me, it's okay. I think I'll be using it from time to time, but I will for sure use the EVF more than the OVF. It is fun to use the OVF from time to time, and it does take time to get used to. One thing I wish they did is when you are in EVF mode, they should keep the EVF there instead of having it going up and down whenever the eye sensor detects something in front. I'm not sure how durable that mechanism is. Hopefully it is durable because I'm not a big fan of moving parts. Since I first got my X-E2, I found myself enjoying using the rangefinder style of cameras more than the DSLR style with the EVF in the middle. This is definitely a personal preference, but I encourage you to try out the rangefinder style in store when you have a chance. Maybe you'll like it too. When it comes to ergonomic, almost all Fujifilm cameras are not the greatest except the XS10, but both my X-E2 and X-Pro2 at least have a tiny grip. The X-E4 does not have any grip at all, so I was not enjoying holding onto the camera. In fact, I didn't even know how to hold it comfortably. Because the X-Pro2 is a little bit heavier and wider, I got a grip for it and it feels very nice. By the way, this grip says it is made for the X-Pro3, but it fits the X-Pro2 like a glove. It is pretty hard to find a grip for the X-Pro2, so I will leave the link to the grip in the description below if you are interested. Price is also a big reason why I picked the X-Pro2 over the X-E4. I got my second-hand X-Pro2 around $800 US, which is a little cheaper than a new X-E4 at $850. Yes, you're not getting the 26 megapixel sensor and touchscreen and faster processor with the X-Pro2, but the images coming out of the X-Pro2 is much more important to me than those new features. Yes, the autofocus capability is definitely better on the newer cameras like the X-E4 compared to the X-Pro2. But once you are used to the camera, you will have no problem using things like single point autofocus as I do. Sometimes not relying too much on technology is not a bad idea. Lastly, I just think the X-Pro2 is the best looking camera among all the cameras that I've tried. I just feel happy looking at the camera, just like owning a nice watch if that makes any better sense. It will definitely get a lot of attention. It is always a great conversation starter when people see you using the X Pro cameras. It makes everyone interested and happy. Why not? That's it. Those are the reasons why I think the X-Pro2 is definitely still worth it and why I got one for myself. As I said in my X-E2 video before, they don't make these cameras and sensors anymore. So if you can find a nice condition one, I would definitely suggest you to consider getting it. I got mine almost brand new, even the box, and I can't be any happier. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. What Fujifilm camera are you using and what is your favorite Fujifilm camera? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.